Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and your...
Did the doctor visit?
Oh, Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep came to visit. Ooh, buddy, we messed up. We did our best of the decade, and before we saw this and Parasite,
In our defense, we mentioned that there were a couple movies they were going to sneak in
did.
there, and these both would have snuck
both
into
of them
that.
were like really, really good.
really snuck into that.
But for the topic of this episode, Dr. Sleep,
Prepare for spoilers,
lots of spoilers.
and also prepare for. Is this a horror movie? Like,
It's all.
no, I know it's a horror movie, but
movie.
it's dark fantasy too, and I really love. It was refreshing.
Yeah,
How it was not what I expected. Even the changes he made to the book were not what I expected. And I liked almost all of them. Didn't really like where it got to the end. Are we doing spoilers?
fuck yeah.
All right.
I love them.
Yeah, I love them too. So this is a really what are the immediate takeaways from this movie? So
Dude, this is the best.
My first immediate takeaway is that we now have a great new horror villain. I mean, technically don't have a great new horror villain because but we at least have the appearance of a villain that I feel like can stand with like any of the most interesting ones of the last few years.
Right. We also got this year's best X-Men movie.
Yes, we did.
We did. You know what I'm
We
saying?
did.
That was the first one that came to mind. I was like, this is a good. Well, everyone was saying, it's a great follow-up to The Shining.
Yes.
And which is true. I think it is. I agree with that 100%. But I also think this is a better companion piece to Firestarter.
Yeah, because of the pushing
Yeah.
and like the different powers, and yeah, for sure. It was really interesting that because I thought, here's the thing. Well, let's just get this out of the way right now because this movie is. I mean, we were talking about this, trying to do the math on it. This might be the widest gap between original and sequel in horror history, at least in the
Halloween would run it.
important versions, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's been, yeah, but I'm sorry. I mean, moving from books to film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't think of another author who's written a sequel to a book like 30 plus years later.
Yeah.
That got turned into such a noticeable work, right? So this is a really adult themed. It's grappling with a lot of like alcoholism and damaged emotional trauma and stuff like that. So it's not heavy on the scares. It's not nearly as scary as The Shining, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But I felt like there are some really disturbing moments, and there were enough of the really disturbing moments to make up for the fact that it's not a particularly scary movie, especially if you started to think of the implications of some of the things. Mm-hmm. But like when the True Knot takes down the baseball kid, that was terrifying.
Right.
That was a really terrifying sequence.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was scary when Abra flipped the script on Rose the Hat, and that whole sequence was
That
pretty
was really fun.
unnerving, right?
Ungloving.
The ungloving was pretty bad, and then and then I thought. Honestly, I thought there was I thought that one of the scariest moments to me, which I didn't expect, was when one of the True Knot people finally gives up the ghost and disintegrates, that was
Lurch?
yeah,
that
was pretty unnerving,
dude. That was scary because like he like kept flashing and like a skull would like just kind of show up over his face. Like that was. It was like, and it was so dark. Your eyes are kind of like, wait, did I really? Is he turning into like a skeleton? Like, what's going on here?
Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
And then my last one is I thought Snakebite Andy was a dark horse for one of the scarier characters in horror this year because she was the one that was killing men who were trying to date her. That's not the right phrasing, but she was basically it was like. Almost crusading in a dark way against a certain kind of man, which which made sense. But
she was like 15 or
yeah,
something.
but then
like
she
that.
became. They turned her in, so they're not human anymore once they do that ceremony, right?
Yeah.
And then she has that pushing ability. So spoiler, big spoiler. But when they ambush the True Knot and take most of the True Knot out, you remember she takes out Ewan McGregor's friend.
Yeah.
With a push. And I thought that was one of the scariest moments of the movie. Because it was when she just turned and she was like, kill yourself. I was like, oh.
She was on her way out. She had like gasp it out.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the fact that it was so spiteful. She acted it so well. You know,
she was great.
I thought that was, and she was just a scary character. Once she became not human, I thought she was just a very well done, scary character in her own right. Right. Mm-hmm. So, what else jumps out to you from this?
Everyone's talking about the astral projection scene, and
let's talk about that.
There's two sides.
I know
there's the side who
there are people who are wrong.
Hey, people who are wrong and people who love it. Like, yeah, that's funny. It's like I could see, like, I understand why people don't like it. It's super jarring. It's weird. Like, I get that, but like, I thought it was super. I thought stylistically it was like, how else are you going to show astral projection? I thought that was pretty fucking perfect. Like,
right.
Like that's how it would probably look. Like if someone was like, if I could see someone do an astral projection and I looked out the window, it would look like some shitty Peter Pan flying out the window.
Well, let me make a slightly different argument. So, one of the reasons that I think Rose the Hat is the breakout character from this movie, if it's not Abra, who also we should talk about because she was incredible. She was great. But and all of the sub characters, all of them. This is an impeccably cast movie. The person who takes over Shelley Duvall's character part was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then the guy who played Crow Daddy was incredible. Rose the Hat's sidekick basically.
Guy doesn't wear a seatbelt.
He was incredible. And then the guy who took over for Scatman,
dude,
deserves like a Hall of Fame thing because that was just that seems like a part that's just suicide to take, and he was amazing.
He Mads Nicholson Hannibal.
That's exactly
Scatman.
That's exactly what he did, which is incredible. Even down to the bit characters, like the guy who interviews him in the thing that looks like the Shining Office. All of them are great. But anyway, I digress because the point is the Rose the Hat argument I'm going to make it for the astral projection thing is I think one thing that horror has been missing for a while is one of the things that was really stand out about like a Hannibal Lecter was how elegant he was. Right, just the way he moved and the way he thought and the way he problem solved, killing everyone in his path, and like there was an elegance to what he was doing. And what's happened in horror as of late is we get a lot of savagery, like Train to Busan style, right? Mm-hmm. Or we get a lot of elegance, but it's got no teeth in it. There's not. It's either in a movie that's not that great, or it's only sustained for a few moments. It's not a really fleshed out character, right?
Right.
Rose the Hat is elegant. It's even down to her nickname because that little magician way we meet her is pretty incredible, right? Mm-hmm. And I just found even the way like they live in this crappy, or they camp in these crappy areas with their crappy RVs or whatever. But when she ascends to meditate at the top, you can tell she's just a different level of being,
right,
than the people around her, right? So like, that whole sequence of the astral projection, I felt like was really elegantly done. Like you can feel like it looks corny or like whatever, but it was shot sort of like the way a David Lynch would shoot it, just less weird, right? The visuals were really elegant, and that goes along with that character. I feel like it just matches her, and then and the whole we all are a library of memories like was brilliant.
No,
it was like the Stephen King version of The Matrix.
Yeah, I was just watching that scene going, a lot of people are not gonna like this scene, but right now I'm loving it.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic.
Rose the Hat, just in general.
Yes,
it was like because like I went online because like I always like to check out like movies subreddit.
Yeah,
just for conversation afterwards because it's like people have some like other hot takes that are sometimes interesting, and like everyone was just like Rose the Hat.
Yep.
She was...
Well, Rebecca Ferguson's an amazing actress, first of all, so we know that. She was incredible in Mission Impossible. Like, she's been...
Which one?
She was in the last two we saw, yeah. She's the one that is sort of Tom Cruise's love interest / nemesis, right?
Wild.
So,
I didn't know that. And I like the last Mission Impossible.
Yeah, so she's an incredible actress in her own right. Clearly one of the best actresses to be in a horror movie this year. But also, I think it's just the fact that it's such an interesting take on where the Shining story wins.
Yep.
Right, to bring her in, where we had all these hotel ghosts in the first one that were sort of manifestations of people's own personal demons or whatever. And this felt like such a more universal threat. Mm-hmm. Right. How did you think about what they handled the whole process of collecting steam, consuming steam?
The Monsters, Inc. part of the movie?
Yeah.
Dude, I loved it. As soon as
Did you like it visually, conceptually? Did you just like everything about it?
Everything about it. Like, I loved this movie a lot. Like, it was like... growing up with movies like Monsters, Inc., with like the scream canisters, like when they opened it up and like the girl from earlier, you heard her scream, I was like, it's hard for me not to imagine like Mike Wazowski and Billy Crystal,
right, totally,
and shit like that. But it looked cool, like the effect of it coming out, the way they would like try to breathe in the soul, like junkies. There's like they like getting that shit. Yep. I loved that. Even like how their powers would diminish it, like it was like that vampire sort of thing where like I need some
psychic
blood.
Vampire kind of.
Yeah,
it's goes along with what I was saying about even the canisters and the design of all that was elegant, right? Like those looked like something that you would put on a shelf in a really upscale place or in a museum or whatever.
Right.
Just the way that they had them, and I thought. So one of the things I appreciate about this movie is that it does what other movies did, but a little off kilter, so it's not exactly the same. And then the way it executes it was visually so good, right? Which reminds me of Flanagan's, like Oculus is a killer mirror movie that should not work, right? But he visually pulls it off. And then Haunting of Hill House, you shouldn't be able to live up to that source material, but like he made it look so terrifying. That he just really knows how to manipulate the eye and make things look really good or whatever. And that's what I felt like was happening with the whole. So the for example, if you think about most movies screw up the seance scene or the raising of the demon scene. Right. Think about all the movies you've seen where you're waiting for something really impressive to happen. And then it's like Last Exorcism 2. And it's just a bunch of jackups in the woods, like, looking like idiots, like, or whatever, or it's the corny, Hammer style, like everyone Manos hands are fading it out there, like this when they brought Snakebite Andy around with that ceremony was legitimately scary and visually cool looking.
What I liked about it was, I think she asks her something like, does it hurt? And then when she wakes up the next day, she's like, you said it wasn't gonna hurt. Like, it obviously was super painful.
Yeah, for sure.
Which tells you everything you need to know about them.
That tells you everything you need to know about them.
Yeah, but no, you're right, because any other movie would have made it like super cheesy. Like the way that he handled a lot of things that could be really stupid and cheeseball. He
like
changed
the
it.
Overlook coming back to life.
Like the Overlook. Well, even like if you watch like another movie where like they have some kind of like made up drug, it's usually like something really weird and really dumb. But the way he did the souls was like, it was like, okay, well, yeah, of course you put them in a canister.
Yeah, and it was the way that he was lighting their eyes as their powers amplified.
The white glow,
really done well,
The white glow,
and it could have been so bad in the wrong hands, and he just really knows how to do it.
What's funny is both of these films, because if you're listening to this, we just recorded our episode of Criterion for Parasite. Yep. Both these films have scary white eyes in them.
They do.
Wow,
they do.
That's a nice little bridge between those two.
Tie in together. What did you think of the before we get to Amber, because we got to talk about her? What did you think of the kind of continuation of Danny's story? From The Shining.
This is a movie about Danny.
Did you like where it went?
Yeah. Well, what's funny, one, Ewan McGregor's like always amazing in everything. Like he's the bee's knees. Well. I really liked it, and I really even liked the ending, how it ended. Mm-hmm. Alex actually read me the
book ending.
The book ending, and I was like, oh, I kind of wish they would have won the book ending.
Yeah, book ending's better.
The book ending's a little bit better, but it's like it's a ballsy move. Like where did because like Danny is, I mean, he's just a kid in The Shining. Like he sees some scary shit, but like overall, like he's probably like the least interesting.
Well, agreed. He is the one with the shine. So like, what he has is powering the whole Overlook Hotel into like super malignancy, right? So like, he's interesting for what he's carrying, but you don't. His character isn't
compared to
he has no character arc. He's too young.
Yeah. So now with this film, they're like, well, we're just gonna make you McGregor, and you're gonna love it. Problem solved.
I love that he can convince me that preposterous things can happen. Like I bumped on the messaging through the chalkboard thing for a minute, even though it led to the great red rum call out and all that stuff. But he just sold it. I totally believe there was a guy up there just talking to someone through chalkboard writing, and that shouldn't work either. But I think that's one of the things about this movie for me is there's just so much in here that should not have worked that does.
Right.
That is the most impressive thing to me about it.
Well, it was fun, like watching him, because like he knew about The Shining, but then like he locked up the ghost and like really didn't like hear from for a while. Well, he after he met his friend, he I think it was like 8 years or something like that since he had seen anything like that.
Well, and that was one of the things that I actually, if I'm understanding the messaging right, I don't like, but it's a personal thing with me, and it's, I'm sure that I'm misreading it, but like, here's the thing. The movie states, and I'm sure the book does too, the True Knot people are looking for people who have this steam. And they're actually, I think one of the most interesting concepts of the whole movie is that they're finding less and less of it in the world.
Right, yeah.
They're talking about how everyone's got less steam, which is sort of like Stephen King's, like, it was better in my day,
right,
like whatever, but also probably accurate, right? So like, but the weird thing is they were hunting for what they called a whale, which was whoever had the most shining, the most steam that they could get, right? And that would have been Danny, but they never detected him, and they never detected him because he was drinking. His drinking suppressed his shine. Gotcha. So he was undercover and they never detected him. They spotted Abra. What is she, 8, 10? I don't even know how old she is, but like...
She was 16 or like 6 when you first see her, like really young, and then, or 5 or something like that, then 15, 16 later on.
Right. So she's still pretty young and they've smelled her out. She hasn't even gotten to she hasn't even gotten to 20s and they smelled her out. And Danny's ancient and they don't know he exists. And the reason why those two things are happening is he's suppressed his shine with the drinking, right? He wouldn't be around to save Abra if they had spotted him and taken him out. If they could have. I don't know what would have happened if they tried to take him out without Abra earlier, right? But given how weak he seemed when we first meet him, I feel like he would have been pretty easy pickings for the True Knot, crew. So I'll ask you that question in a second, but my point is his drinking saved him. And I don't like that messaging, right? Because I feel like that's weird.
Well, think about it from King's perspective,
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is I don't want to go there because that's such a serious topic for people. But I'm just saying the way I read it was I must be missing something. But that'll be for people who know better than me to figure out. But here's the thing that I know is that it was all well acted, right? Mm-hmm. And then the curiosity is, so Abra clearly has more powers than Danny. And Danny clearly has more powers than whoever in his family he got it from, right? So, like, it's clearly amplifying through generations in a certain way. Like, I'm assuming if there's a sequel to Doctor Sleep 40 years from now, whoever we meet will have even more powers than Abra.
They said there was another one in the works, but then it underperformed. I think it was going to be...
Yeah, we're never going to see another one of these because of how it did, which is a shame, but...
You got to wait to... Yeah, probably not. I'm optimistic.
I mean, this was a financial disaster.
But no, it wasn't a disaster. But it underperformed. But I think we'll get more.
I mean, you would hope. But the point is that the question I want to ask you is if Rose the Hat and the True Knot group had come at just Danny, earlier in his life, like let's say he hadn't drunk and he had been like Abra, right? Yeah. Could they have taken him out by himself, or would he have had a chance of fighting back?
Probably not.
That's what I'm thinking. So he was saved by drinking. That was the unfortunate part. But Abra is clearly a next level. Like what she did with the spoons was ridiculous, and then she has these powers. But the way that was acted was just magnificent. I can't imagine a better depiction of that character. She was a genius at nailing that character, and that character's confidence and like open-mindedness when she just got on the bus and took off to visit him, it was one of the most heroic things in the movie, but you don't even notice it because there's no powers involved. It's just a decision a little girl is making.
Right.
But it was so cool that she did it. Right?
Yeah. She was taking charge. She was great.
And then she tricked Rose the Hat. First she scared her. The shopping scene was cool. When Rose the Hat was shopping and got blasted by her. And then the trap she laid for her was badass. And then she Luke Skywalker's her friends into the trap where she's sitting cross-legged on the park bench, but she's not there. And then all her friends, all Rose the Hat friends all of the True Knot gets gunned down basically. So except for Cur Daddy. So like her powers are crazy.
Yeah, she was pretty. It'd be so cool if you just saw at the end some Firestarter. I just kept waiting for it the whole movie. I'm like, where's the Firestarter? Are we gonna get some fire in here? No.
And the only thing I don't want to sleep on, the one thing that Danny did that was super impressive, because most of it was just like veteran wiles. Like I've lived with this for a long time, so I know what to do. Like setting the trap was good. The boxes with the overlook was just a wisdom thing, a trick that he had learned from Scatman. But he did have that one amazing moment where he intervened when Abra was drugged. Yeah. And he sort of possessed her. And then that was probably the maximum of his powers. Like the fact that he could pull that off and rescue her from afar just by projecting his mind.
That was
pretty badass.
Yeah, that was a great scene. And even the way she was acting like Danny, like the fact that she was acting as Ewan McGregor's part as the little girl who was projecting her break, because he says something like, because he's drugged up and he's like, I haven't felt like this in years. And then the way they shot The Shining, like the actual powers in the movie, like they did all of them so well, like because like The Shining, like when you see the Kubrick film, like you still don't really kind of know what it is.
No,
like, it could be a lot of things.
That's true.
But in this film, they show you what all it could be and how they've used it and how they've maximized their shine. And it all made sense. Like there wasn't one thing that happened in the film where I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. It happened. I went, well, that's The Shining for you. That's how it works.
That should have been the marketing campaign.
That's how
The Shining for you.
That's how it works.
That's pretty amazing. I can't believe we've gone this long without. So one of the best characters in all of horror is not human. It's the Overlook Hotel. The Overlook Hotel is a character, and to see it in its rundown, abandoned, like version, it was almost moving. Is that weird? And like really crazy, amazing visually. But what did you think of that whole sequence?
It was so weird because like they drove up there, then then the music kicks in. And you're like, oh, dude, like that part made the movie feel like huge. Like it was like,
yes,
we're finishing, we're adding on to this huge,
this is gonna become the Lawrence of Arabia of horror now. Everything just widened out and got like epic.
The music, because I don't know, that soundtrack just like kind of hit you, like it hit you in the chest. But I loved going back to the Overlook. Some people, it was weird. Some people were saying like they should have spent more time there in the Overlook. Sure. I kind of liked it as like just a little.
I liked it as is. I felt like they might have even spent a little too long with the Ewan McGregor touring it.
Yeah,
I mean, as amazing as the visuals were, we were clearly getting fan serviced, and that's fine. But I don't want it to go on and on so long where I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, people imagine a studio is giving you big ass budget and they're like,
well, and it's also just true love. I'm sure that Mike Flanagan, The Shining, really affected his life, and I feel like as it has with a lot of horror fans, and I feel like just because it's one of the most legendarily actually frightening movies of all time, and the Overlook is the place where that goes down, like I get that he wanted to dwell there. I just felt like it was just right. If it was Goldilocks,
I thought the same thing. It was just right. What do you think of all the old ghosts coming out?
So here's the thing. I don't like the ending of this movie. I like the ending of the book better. That's one. But I also don't like. I get passing the torch, and now he's the spirit guide to Abra, and I get like just like Halloran was for him, and I get like all that is whatever, and I get that goes along with a really important theme that Flanagan's hitting there, which is that there is something else. I mean, Abra breaks her own rule about revealing her shining to her parents, and straight up tells her mom, like, there's something after this.
Yeah.
Like I know there's something after this, right? So I do like that.
That part I loved. Like there was
I
a line,
like that was part. Go ahead.
just because I agree. I like the Alex read me the book ending. I was like, I like that more, just because I didn't want Danny to
right, of course.
But
and I like that it ended with the relationship with his father, because his relationship with his father is garbage at the end of this movie.
Right. But I liked the part when she was seeing him, and he was basically saying like, I was wrong. He was like, don't hide your shine. Like that whole part, I was like, oh
yeah,
that part was like really great.
Yeah, I mean, I liked that part. It's just the thing is, there's two things about, and I tried so hard not to compare this to The Shining because I just feel like that's not fair to any movie, right? So like, but it was weird because I don't like the last shot. I don't like the bathroom, the ghost coming back in room 237 in her own bathroom. I thought it was stupid the first time we saw it with Ewan McGregor, and I didn't like it ending with that.
I liked it the first time with Ewan McGregor.
And the problem is that it's, the last shot of The Shining is so perfect that, I mean, to go out on a bad shot, bothered me a little. So I just didn't like the last shot, the choice of the last shot we're leaving on. But thematically, I get why he was there. I just didn't like it. But the other thing is, I don't like the box trick. And that's just for reasons. It's just for me. Like, I get visually it was cool, right? Like keeping the ghost in the box. I like when he released him on the stairs and they ate Rose the Hat and all that was cool. It was executed well. I just don't like the idea of, I feel like it diminishes the Overlook ghosts. One of the things that's great about The Shining is how unreadable it is. No matter what interpretation you pick, there's some opposite argument to it. And by definitively giving Danny the power to turn the Overlook on and off at will, which he basically has with the box trick. I mean, it was just sitting there with no ghost. He had them all trapped in boxes the whole time he was alive. Like, he releases them at the end. That means the Overlook was literally just an abandoned hotel with nothing happening there the entire time until he let them back out of the boxes. Right?
No, I ain't got a problem with that.
Yeah, I just don't like. I think it gives Danny too much power. The power balance shifts too much.
No, I see what you're saying, but I only disagree because Danny's had so much time to work with it. So he's basically had Halloran as his coach for like.
Yeah, and it's in the source material. Totally. Yeah.
So like I didn't bump on.
I just don't like it. I don't like it as a decision because
you'd rather the Overlook be continuously.
I would. Well, yeah, I would rather that the Overlook be as scary as it was in the first one. Even if you can't show it in the movie, don't take it away from it. Right? Like, is visually as scary, but they've drawn a lot of the menace out of it if you can basically just mousetrap it.
Yeah.
Right? So I just don't like that as a choice. But it's fine. I mean, he couldn't change it. It was an important thing in the book that Stephen King wrote, and you're not going to change that on Stephen King. Like, he changed some things, but that would have been really fun.
I sort of liked it because from Danny's point of view, those people have haunted him like his whole life. And then by releasing them, and having them just take full control of everything, it's like it loses their power they had over him, even though he fucking dies.
Well, honestly,
I guess he doesn't because there's something.
Well, he dies, but he just moves on.
Yeah,
right?
he Obi-Wan's it.
He Obi-Wan's it, but it's not like
funny enough.
And I don't want to dwell on this because it's not important. It's just the thing that I bumped on. It's just for my own reasons. But the thing that exactly what you were saying there is part of what bothers me is that it's I get that it's part of Danny's arc. He needs it. He needs those boxes to work or something like it because what's cool about it is when he unleashes it, he's using his own demons for good. Yeah. Which is what I'm sure is like Stephen King's main message here is not just to beat your demons, but to take what you struggle with inside and use it to help other people who struggle with the same thing. So, I mean, thematically, it's perfect. I just don't like it.
It's just, I want my Danny alive.
I just don't like it. No, I just want the Overlook to be the Overlook, not like something that Danny could just kick the power cord out of.
It makes it less
And again, I could be misreading it, but it doesn't take away any from the visual menace of it. The tour of there was great.
Yeah.
Just and the way all the rooms were like perfectly aged, the way that they would be, and the whole boiler sequence, all that stuff was really cool, right? Like,
yeah.
I think so. Here's the thing: we've done this on our Facebook page many times, where we've done. I'll do it right now for you, right? Off the top of your head, Nate, give me 2 great horror vehicles.
The one in Evil Dead.
Okay.
The old, what are they called? The old fashioned or what? Something like that.
The old fashioned.
And then fucking Death Proof.
Death Proof, perfect. Or Christine.
Yeah.
Or the Car 77, or the Jeepers Creepers truck. I mean, horror vehicles are a legendary thing, but none of them can match the feat of this movie's regular Toyota Celica making it up the hill to Overlook. What the hell? That car would never. They brought a tank up to that hotel in The Shining, and they just show up in my car. Like, listen, it was like, what
no. You weren't driving it.
That car is the MVP.
It helps when you have superpowers. That's the only excuse as to why that car made it up.
I'm joking because it's the object nature of the Overlook, not the ghosts that live in it, but just the rooms, the architecture, the look. That was as great as ever. Like he executed that perfectly, so I was happy with that.
I think it was. I just love the movie so much. Like
it's an amazing movie, and it's one of those movies that you just know automatically. I knew a third of the way into it that I was going to see this maybe 3 or 4 more times in my life and love them each time, and probably catch new and different things every time I see it.
This horror movie had the most heart. Like it had really, really sweet moments. Like I think probably my favorite part of the movie is when he's working with the cat. Mm-hmm. The cat who sits on people's laps when they're about to die. I loved the dialogue.
The hospice scene was scenes were amazing.
I loved those scenes because it was so sweet, and I loved like when people who were good when they died. Like a little bit of that steam just kind of came off, and I also loved how he was comforting them too.
Yep.
He was like, I'm imagining the blueberries my mom used to grow.
Yep.
I can hear my wife's voice. Like it was like all this like really sweet stuff, and then I loved it compared to when the Top Knots. Was that their name? The Top Knots?
The True Knots.
True Knots. What's the Top Knots? That's a
samurai thing?
That's it's a gang in the Warriors. I think it's a gang somewhere.
Fair enough. I think the True Knot can take him.
I think you're right. But when they died, I loved just how much pain and agony they were in because they just weren't good people. So like watching the people who lived decent lives.
That's a great. Yep.
They went off so easily. These motherfuckers, when they died, it was like painful. They were screaming. They were,
and they were terrified of death, and that, ultimately that's kind of also what the movie's about, which is death as a transition, and fighting it is what is, especially at the expense of others,
right?
Is what is the true evil, right? And you really got the sense in the hospice scenes that that's what it would be like if Stephen King himself was there comforting you. I feel like that's how he would do it.
Yeah.
I feel like the way Ewan McGregor comforted people was how Stephen King would do it, but without psychic powers. Like he would just be really like down to earth, but incredibly honest at the same time. Yeah. So he'd be like wise, but not like big, like overthought, metaphors or whatever. He would just say, he would try to figure out what the most meaningful thing in your own life and make it about you, not him. Right. And that's what Ewan McGregor was doing. And I thought that was amazing. And kind of an insight to why Stephen King has been such an amazing storyteller over so many years, because I think he's just gifted with an incredible sense of empathy.
Right. Well, the other thing that I wanted to touch on before I forgot was how much I loved the shootout scene, because a lot of people were saying, like, how do these people with superpowers, like, how do they just not?
Yeah, I bumped up a little too when I was watching it, but I didn't stick.
Well, the reason, and this is what a lot of people were talking about that they liked, was they never fought anyone with a gun or challenge.
Yeah, right. No, for sure.
All they did was kill children.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when a child killer goes up with a motherfucker,
yeah,
with a
Wolfpack
plan,
isn't expecting like the wildebeest to pull out a shotgun,
right?
right. Like
they're not expecting
for
that.
sure. They're not ready for that. I got that. That's why I got over it so quickly. It was just, it felt a little. So here's the thing, and I don't know. Again, this, I'm probably overthinking it, right? It's what I do. But I thought when the stakes automatically get higher when there's a kid involved, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of why Rosemary's Baby is so sinister. That's part of why Poltergeist works, right? So like, because Aber was involved, whatever plan they were doing had to include the fact that the safety of someone really young and innocent was at stake. And their plan, as far as I could tell, was to take 2 fucking guns to the middle of nowhere and then shoot the hell out of a whole bunch of people who brought guns too. And that just feels like a real crap dice roll of a plan, right? I would have brought more backup or like A-teamed it with some like explosions or something.
He is lucky his partner even joined, dude.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It felt really haphazard as a plan.
Yeah, it was.
And that's the only thing I bumped on was just like you walked into a gunfight. Yeah. You walked into a gunfight against odds, but he does have the shine. So maybe he just kind of knew how it was going to go down. Like
he seemed like he was getting the dust off.
And shine. Like I said, I only stuck on it for a second. It was I did like how the scene was executed. Like I said, I loved that he lost his friend there and how that went, because I thought that was like a horror movie not pulling its punches, because that character doesn't die in the book, right? So
he doesn't.
I don't think so. So that it's not. It just was. It was kind of cool how all that went down, and it was great watching the anguish of Rose watching her friends die and not be able to do anything about it, because that felt like really Lost Boys to me.
Yeah.
Not that her connection to them was really genuine. She was just feeling thwarted and losing her pack. They're basically a wolf pack, right? It's not that it was sentimental, because I don't believe she was
like
sentimental about it. But yes, exactly right. And it was cool because it just gave it another layer.
Yeah.
I think it's an incredible film. I think it's going to grow with time.
Definitely.
And I think that if you can get over the constant Shining comparisons and just let it be its own interesting thing, because let's be honest, after 4 decades pass, like you can't put these two things together after 4 decades. I mean, just go ahead and try. Pull out something you wore 4 decades ago and put it on now. It's not going to work. Exactly. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they should be mashed together as much as people are trying to do it. So, but I think if you let it be its own thing and you understand that it's as much a dark fantasy as it is horror, then you're in for an amazing ride.
I think it's probably one of the best ones of the year.
Agreed.
I'm definitely gonna
time to re-record our decade episode.
Yeah, we gotta put that one in there. All right, well, let us know what you all thought of Dr. Sleep in the form of a 5-star review. I don't care. Just fucking do it. Just put
that was subtle.
Just put the 5. God damn it! I started watching Watchmen, dude. I'm over it. I got a roll F you attitude.
He's going straight
at him.
Straight at him. I like it.
Let us know what you think. Join the Facebook group. Join the Instagram. We got a lot of cool horror stuff going on there. Until next time, stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies. Bye.
Bye, guys.